I arrived at the location shortly before the presentation began, and I assisted a pregnant woman who was squatting at the station on the morning of a significant presentation valued at $50 million. A coworker who always viewed me as a competitor had already distributed the brochures and claimed the credit at the location. The president called me the following day to inform me that I had been sacked. What were you contemplating? Arriving late for a crucial presentation? Being late when assisting a pregnant woman? Stop lying. It isn't false. I was. My coworker interrupted me while I was trying to explain. Oh, please, sir. He always makes things up. I was lucky to be able to cover for him this time. Otherwise, the business would have suffered a significant loss. Sure. I detest liars above all. Someone like you is not needed in our organization. You've been fired. My coworker grinned next me. My tardiness was my responsibility, of course, but terminating me without doing any checks. They were unaware that this was the final countdown to their demise. Robert Davis is my name. In New York, I work for a venture capital firm. Despite being a venture, the organization is already well known, and if you have the drive and aptitude, is a thankful environment that appreciates performance. Work is busy, even for someone like me with only a high school degree, but I'd live a happy life in my own way. Together with my coworkers James and Dorothy, I went to our favorite little restaurant today to celebrate the success of my team's presentation. As the name implies, this restaurant, Four Seasons, is a little off the main street and serves delectable seasonal fare. Customers admire Sarah, the young, attractive owner who looks stunning in a dress. Naturally, the cuisine is also really good, and I particularly enjoy the stew meals that are served here. One drink here eliminates all of my work-related weariness thanks to the nostalgic home-cooked flavor. Oh, Robert, I don't often see you here. Are you spending today with your coworkers? Yes, I thought we should celebrate with a delicious meal because we did well at work today. Oh, it makes me very glad to hear. So I should congratulate you for being a consistent customer, right? Sarah gave me a warm towel with a soft smile. Then Dorothy, who accompanied us, turned to face Sarah and sighed slightly. Wow, the owner here is really beautiful, isn't she? How do you say it? She has a mature charm. Guys must like women like her. Oh my, thank you. It's nice to be complimented by such a young girl. I'll give you a little extra too, okay? Sarah said this and handed over a small bowl. Here you go. This is a service plate. Watching the interaction between the women, I took a sip of my beer with a warm feeling. Then Dorothy suddenly brought up the topic. Robert, you like women like the owner, right? Blushing a little, I replied, well, I don't think there's a guy who doesn't like someone like her. Dorothy visibly poured more beer into my glass. Well, I'm just a young girl with nothing but youth to offer. Hey, are you already drunk even though you haven't had a drink yet? Fine, I'll drink. I'll drink a lot. Dorothy kept engaging with me, but James, my colleague, watched with a displeased look. James graduated from a famous university, and when we first joined the company, we worked well together. But when he found out I only had a high school diploma, his attitude changed. He would pass all the tedious tasks, like data collection and analysis, to me while taking the credit for himself. Hey, Robert, can you get this report done by tomorrow? What? By tomorrow? I haven't even finished what you asked for yesterday. Oh, come on. You're a tough guy with a high school background. You can handle it, right? All you have is stamina anyway. With a sarcastic tone, he'd joke and dump work on me. Dorothy, not liking James's ways, often muttered complaints. Seriously, he never does any of the hard work and just pushes it all on you. Robert, he acts like he's better just because we're the same age. Robert is respected by everyone at work, and he's just jealous. Dorothy, it's okay. I'll do my best where I can. You're really too nice, Robert, but don't push yourself too hard, okay? You might collapse. Yeah, thanks. That day, I stayed late into the night and finished all the work James had given me. I know James looks down on me for being a high school graduate, but I don't feel ashamed of my education. I chose not to go to college. My mother ran a small kitchen at home, providing free meals to children who couldn't eat properly. She was what you'd call a big-hearted busybody. My dad would run errands after work, and I helped out a lot as a kid. The small kitchen saw many kids with various circumstances, among them siblings Sarah and Will, who came often. Their single mother worked several part-time jobs. For dinner, they shared one bowl between them. Sarah and Will were always skinny. I remember my mom bringing them to our kitchen. Kids need to eat a lot, play energetically, and sleep well. That's their job, right? My mother laughed heartily as she said that and served them a mountain of beefsteak. They hadn't had a warm meal in a while, and they kept saying how delicious it was, stuffing their mouths with food. From then on, they came to our kitchen every day, and I became close to them like siblings. I wonder what Sarah and Will are doing now. Are they doing well? Sometimes I think about them and the other kids like they were my real siblings. The small kitchen received some donations from NGOs, but most of it was funded by my parents. My grandparents also had a hobby farm, so we often got ingredients directly from their fields. As an only child, it was fun to have so many little friends around. Watching the young siblings eat my mom's food with smiles and saying how delicious it was made me happy too. During those days when I was in high school, my dad passed away from an illness. My mom wanted to close the soup kitchen, but I didn't want her to stop, so I decided not to go to college and got a job instead. Eventually, a few years later, my mom followed my dad, and we had to close the kitchen. But I don't regret my decision. I loved seeing my mom smile when she was running the kitchen. Even now, I sometimes remember her happily cooking and the kids eating her food with delight. I heard those siblings were taken in by some distant relatives. Lately, I found myself wondering how they're doing now. James mocked me for my lack of a degree, but I believe that as long as you have the skills, education doesn't matter. So no matter how much he ridiculed me, I decided to stay focused and do my best. I finished the data analysis James dumped on me early, so I prepared materials for tomorrow's project meeting. In that meeting, our company will decide which new product to focus on. Ultimately, we chose to handle a high-revenue product after considering cost-effectiveness. After the meeting, the manager stopped me. "Robert, I'm thinking of assigning you the presentation for the new product. It's crucial for gaining new clients, so stay sharp. If you succeed, it could be a $50 million deal." "Thank you, but $50 million? That's a huge responsibility." I felt the weight of the responsibility. James, who had been in the meeting, spoke up to the manager. "Manager, why are you giving such a big task to someone like Robert without a degree? Shouldn't I be the one handling this?" James's self-promotion while belittling me made the manager frown a little. "No, this project involves a lot of junior staff. We need someone like Robert, who is trusted by the team, to lead it. James, make sure you support him." "I see," James replied, clearly dissatisfied. He didn't push the manager further, and we started preparing for the new presentation. "Robert, let's make sure we succeed." "Yeah, let's do our best together." As my team and I got to work, even James, who wasn't very cooperative at first, eventually helped with preparing materials. "Hey, Robert, should I insert this data on page 6? "Yes, please." James was quietly helping without any sarcastic remarks or complaints, which made both Dorothy and me suspicious at first. But his calm demeanor eventually made us drop our guard, thinking he might have changed. Little did we know that this was a significant mistake. The presentation materials, completed with the team's cooperation despite the long hours, turned out excellent. I was confident it would be a success and eagerly awaited the big day. On the morning of the presentation, I woke up earlier than usual to make sure I wouldn't be late for the meeting at the client's company. But trouble always seems to strike at such times. On my way to the station, I saw a pregnant woman with a large belly crouching and holding her stomach. She was in obvious pain, sweating on her forehead. People passing by glanced at her, but did not stop to help, probably because it was rush hour. I couldn't just walk by, so I ran over and spoke to her. "Are you okay?" The woman noticed my voice, slowly raised her head, and said in a tearful voice, "It hurts my stomach. Could it be labor pains?" "Yes," she nodded with a pained expression. I learned that her doctor was not far away. Even though her due date was still some time off, labor had started. Suddenly, I quickly hailed a cab and got her to the hospital. As soon as we arrived, a relative of hers showed up, so I wished her well and rushed to the presentation. I arrived just in time for the start of the presentation and apologized to my team. Looking around the venue, I saw that James had already handed out the materials. Thanks, James. You really helped me out. Come on, we're teammates now. Get ready for the presentation. Yeah, thank you. I hurriedly finished the preparations and barely started the presentation on time. However, as I proceeded, there was a subtle commotion in the room. Soon, someone from the client company raised an annoyed voice. Hey, the materials and the projector images don't match. What's going on? The data in these materials is completely different from the estimates. Did you even organize the data properly? This sloppy data for a presentation looks like your company is taking us for a ride. Hearing these complaints, I checked the materials at hand and realized they were completely different from what I had prepared. What's going on? As I panicked, James let out a small chuckle beside me. Then he said, Everyone, I apologize for the error in the materials distributed earlier. Please take a look at these revised documents. With that, James began handing out the correct materials that I had originally prepared. He then said, From here on, I will take responsibility and explain, and grabbed the microphone, smirking at me. Since this was a $50 million deal, I couldn't afford to disrupt the atmosphere, so I stepped down from the stage, seething inside. James's explanation followed the script I had prepared exactly. I've been had. I clenched my fists in frustration. James probably planned this from the start. He wanted to make me look incompetent and himself more capable to the higher-ups. Although the presentation itself went smoothly, James's actions left me in a terrible position at the company. Later, the presentation and using incorrect materials? What a disaster! That's my current reputation. The next day, the president came to my department and gave me a stern rebuke. What were you thinking? You barely made it to the presentation on time, and then used the wrong materials. You've humiliated our company. What were you thinking? I am truly sorry. After sincerely apologizing, I explained, even though it might sound like an excuse, that I had been helping a pregnant woman that morning and the materials were not the ones I had prepared. But James interrupted. President, everything Robert is saying is completely false. This guy is all talk and always tries to manipulate everyone. The success of the last presentation was credited to Robert, but I did all the data analysis regarding this presentation. I confirmed with him that the materials were correct. However, based on my experience, I felt the data was wrong. So I prepared an alternative set of materials just in case. Fortunately, they came in handy. Everything James said was a lie, but in this situation, no matter what I said to the president, he wouldn't believe me. I swallowed my frustration and kept quiet. So that's how it was. You're James, right? I heard you graduated from a prestigious university with excellent grades. I see education doesn't lie. Well done. If this deal had gone south, our company would have taken a huge hit. It was nothing. I just did what needed to be done. I see. That kind of humility is commendable. Still, I heard from the manager that Robert was a promising talent. I'm disappointed, and I hate liars the most. Being late for an important deal and then lying about it, we don't need someone like that here. Robert, you're fired. Suddenly being told I was fired left me in shock. Then Dorothy, who had been listening behind me, tried to speak up to the president. Sir, with all respect, Robert did nothing wrong. Dorothy, it's okay, the president said, glaring at her as she stood behind me. Oh, you must be one of Robert's subordinates questioning my decision. Did he teach you to defy company rules? It seems a high school graduate didn't teach you proper societal norms. I realized that if Dorothy said any more, her position would be jeopardized, so I quickly spoke up to defend her. Sir, you're right. The mistake was entirely my fault. She doesn't know anything about it. I'm very sorry. I see. If you understand, then submit your resignation soon and leave. Yes, I understand. As the president left the room, James immediately turned to me. See, people without degrees can't do anything right. Checking the materials before handing them out is basic. You also shouldn't trust people so easily and stop trying to please everyone. It'll only hurt you. Dorothy, what an unfortunate senior she has. If you had been under my wing from the start, I would have taken care of you. No, I don't need to be favored by someone who steals credit in such a dirty way. What? Don't come crying to me later. This was James's true nature. I knew he looked down on me for being a high school graduate, but I never imagined he would go this far to undermine me. I did data organization and analysis without complaint whenever asked. Why does he resent me so much? The more I thought about it, the more empty I felt. Dorothy and the other juniors were unhappy with what James did and the president's decision, and they opposed my dismissal. But in our company, the president's word is law. Without a compelling reason, overturning a resignation is impossible. I calmed everyone down and decided to use up my accumulated leave starting the next day. Though I'd been with the company for a long time, I'd have to say goodbye once my leave was over. That night, I stopped by our usual restaurant, Four Seasons. Sarah greeted me with her usual gentle smile, and I felt a lump in my throat. Seeing my expression, she seemed to realize something was wrong. Here, this one's on me today. Drink up and forget all the bad stuff. Okay. Sarah, I got fired from my job. But knowing you, Robert, there must have been a reason, right? Yeah. Do you remember my colleague James who came here with me the other day? Yes, of course I remember him. He set me up. I told her about how I encountered a pregnant woman going into labor on my way to the presentation, took her to the hospital, and was late. I also explained how James had trapped me. I see, but you helped a pregnant woman and her child, right? That's an amazing thing to do. If a company fires someone for doing the right thing, they have a bleak future. Maybe it's good you left. Really? That's right, Robert. You'll find a new job soon. Thanks, Sarah, but I might not be able to come here for a while since I'll be unemployed. Oh, don't say such sad things for you, Robert. You can pay me back when you get your next job. It's always okay. I'd even let you eat for free if needed. Sarah, that wouldn't be right, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Don't worry. Something good will come. My intuition is usually spot on. Sarah's smile seemed even brighter. About 2 weeks later, my doorbell rang. I couldn't think of anyone who would visit other than a delivery person, so I went to the door, and there was Sarah. What? Sarah, how did you find my place? Robert, long time no see. How have you been? There's someone who really wanted to meet you, so I asked Dorothy for your address and brought them along. Someone who wants to meet me. Yes, this is Miss Barbara Williams. She's the woman you helped 2 weeks ago. Oh, from that time? Are you feeling better now? Yes, thanks to you. You really saved me that day. The baby was born healthy too. It's all thanks to you, Robert. Thank you so much. With that, Miss Williams expressed her gratitude deeply. I see. I'm glad the baby was born safely, I responded. Her expression suddenly darkened. But I heard you got fired for helping me. I can't believe such a terrible company exists. I questioned your president, Sandy. Ha. It's already over, so please don't worry about it, Miss Williams. No, I can't let it go. The person who saved my and my baby's lives is being treated unfairly, and I can't just ignore that. What happened? Responding to her strong request, I told her everything that had happened. Now that I think about it, it's been a while since I've talked to someone so much. So that's what happened. But if that's the case, I think I can help. Exactly. I've actually got some interesting information myself. If you want revenge, I have a good plan. Excuse me? What do you mean? We then discussed various things about the future. But Robert, you haven't been eating properly, have you? Sarah handed me a bento box filled with simmered dishes and other foods from her restaurant. People need to eat well to stay healthy. You need to eat properly to prepare for what's to come. Sarah, thank you. You're welcome. By the way, Robert, I heard you gave Miss Williams my restaurant's business card at the hospital. Oh, so that's why you and Miss Williams came to my place. Yes, you can be quite clumsy, can't you? Sorry. I laughed it off, but honestly, I was so embarrassed my face felt like it was on fire. The truth is, as a fan of Four Seasons and Sarah, I had always kept the business card she gave me as a good luck charm. In my rush to make it to the presentation, when Miss Williams asked for my contact information, I instinctively handed her the business card from Four Seasons. After being fired, I realized the reason I couldn't find that card was because I had mistakenly given it to Miss Williams. But in the end, I gained two strong allies in Miss Williams and Sarah. I guess it all worked out. By the way, Miss Williams, do you still have that business card? Oh, why? Sarah asked, and I stammered a bit before honestly answering, I love Sarah's restaurant. No matter how tired I am, stepping into the place immediately makes me feel better. So the business card is like my mental stabilizer or good luck charm. Oh, that's such a sweet thing to say. Sarah blushed, clearly pleased. Well then, until you find a new job and can come back confidently, I'll deliver our food to you. What? Oh my, Robert, you shouldn't refuse an offer from a lady. Miss Williams gave me a warm look and a gentle chiding. Blushing, I thanked Sarah. On the last day of my employment, after the paid leave, I went to the office. The manager hurriedly came to get me. Robert and James, along with everyone involved in the recent presentation, please come to the president's office immediately. James seemed clueless about why he was being called, but I had a feeling I knew what was about to happen. Well, it might be nice to see you get a scolding from the president one last time, James said with a smug smile, and I silently stuck out my tongue at him. When we arrived at the president's office, there was our pale-faced president and the president of our client company. Robert, I need you to forget about your resignation, the president blurted out as soon as he saw me. Excuse me? What's going on, sir? Today is supposed to be my last day with the company. Well, it's about the $50 million deal we signed recently. The client's president insists that you be in charge. If you're not, they'll cancel the contract. Hearing the president's flustered explanation, James hastily objected. Sir, what are you saying? You said we didn't need this liar in our company, and you said I would handle this deal. What happened to that? Shut up. This is more important right now. At that moment, the client president, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. Why did you just call Robert a liar, President? That's because during the recent presentation, he lied about being late because he was helping a pregnant woman. Oh, Robert, was it a lie that you were late because you were helping someone? No, it's true. A woman went into labor and couldn't move, so I took her to her hospital by taxi, which made me late to the presentation. I see. And what was the name of the woman you helped? Her name was Miss Barbara Williams, a woman in her 20s. She came to my house the other day to thank me and told me the baby was born safely. Well, it just so happens my grandchild was born recently too. Quite a coincidence, isn't it? Moreover, my daughter also went into labor suddenly at the station and was taken to the hospital by a kind man. His name was, let me see, Mr. Robert Davis, I think. The client's president laughed heartily, as if he had just played a successful prank. President Williams, are you saying that this Robert is the one who helped your daughter? Yes, indeed. The man who saved my daughter and grandchild is now being called a liar and getting fired? I can't stay silent about that. James, looking like he had swallowed a bitter pill, protested. But even so, making him the project lead is purely personal. He's incompetent. He even presented the wrong materials. Helping someone and work capability are separate issues. Oh, so you're saying he's incompetent? Yes, exactly. He's a high school graduate who can't do his job properly. At this point, Dorothy, who had accompanied us to the president's office, spoke up. President, I have something to report about the materials that were distributed during the presentation. You're Dorothy, right? What is it? Yes, the incorrect data for the presentation was created by James. I checked the properties and logs of the materials used for printing, so there's no doubt. I'd also confirmed that the correct materials James handed out later were prepared by Robert. What? So James was the one lying from the start? Yes, that's correct. As James turned pale from Dorothy's testimony, President Williams added more pressure. Also, I heard that he paid some of our young employees to cause a commotion to discredit Robert. What, sir? What are you talking about? James stammered, trying to feign ignorance. But President Williams continued with amusement. I was at that presentation, and I found it strange. Normally, our young employees wouldn't make a fuss over minor errors in the materials, but they were unusually rowdy that time. I even scolded them later for their behavior. Then my daughter told me about Robert. I found it hard to believe, so I questioned them, and they easily admitted that you paid them to cause a scene and switch Robert's materials with incorrect ones. James, what have you done? So all this time, it was Robert doing the work? No wonder your performance has been so slow lately. That's a lie. I'm more capable than this high school graduate. Everyone praises Robert, but I'm the one truly dedicated to this company. Just as James shouted that out loud, the office door suddenly opened, and in walked Miss Williams and, surprisingly, Sarah in a suit. What? Miss Williams and Sarah? As I stood there in surprise, Miss Williams, looking every bit the career woman, gave me a quick wink. Then she glared at James. Nice to meet you. I'm Barbara Williams, Vice President of Williams Trading. The other day, I was helped by Robert. Here today, I'm here to report Mr. James's fraudulent activities. What? James fraud? The president looked shocked. In the recent deal, our representative, Brown, claimed that your Mr. James suggested inflating the invoices. They'd agreed to split the profits 50-50, with the inflated amount totaling $100,000. Brown consulted me on what to do. So when James says he's dedicated to your company, that's a blatant lie. That's not true. It's a mistake. I don't know anyone named Brown. As James tried to deny everything, Sarah, now in a suit, spoke up. Oh my, James and Brown come to my restaurant often. Don't they? In fact, they were there together just last night. Here's a video of them. She showed a video on her phone of James and Brown having a secretive conversation. All you have to do is follow what I say. We'll make a fortune with $100,000 each time. It was a video of James and Brown plotting, arms around each other. This was undeniable evidence. The conversation was so suspicious that I secretly recorded it. James always causes trouble for other customers at my restaurant and won't take no for an answer. When he bothers me, I'm glad I recorded it for when trouble like this would arise. Sarah revealed this with a smile, but her eyes showed no amusement. Damn it. All of you ganging up on me and mocking me. You think this high school graduate is so great. I'm an elite graduate from a prestigious university. I'm better than him. How come? Shut up. What are you talking about? You're the one at fault here. You're fired. The president, enraged, shouted at James. Hearing the commotion, security came and restrained the yelling James. He was then placed on house arrest. So, Robert, what do you want to do? Do you still want to work here? President Williams asked, and I shook my head firmly. No, I don't intend to return to this company. What? Why not? Robert, come back. At first, I thought this was a great company that even gave a high school graduate like me a chance. But after this incident, I realized that's not the case. I want to work somewhere where my skills are valued. That's right. Robert deserves that. He should thrive in a new environment. Dad, as vice president, I'd like to hire him at our company. Is that okay? Suddenly, Miss Williams expressed her desire to hire me. Honestly, it was a stroke of luck. I had heard about her company recently and found it interesting. Yes, even if you hadn't said it, I was planning to hire him first. Thank you, Dad. So, Robert, let's work well together from now. Okay. Yes, thank you very much. And that's how I ended up working at Williams Trading, a company with branches worldwide. Now I'm in charge of the import division, bringing in various goods from overseas. I've become close to Miss Williams's family, and I'm great friends with Charles, the baby born that day. Since then, James was fired, and the $50 million deal was canceled. As a sort of replacement, I've been importing cosmetics from overseas at a low cost, which my previous company had planned to buy. This has resulted in a few $1 million in profits for Williams Trading, making Vice President Williams very happy. As for me, Sarah and I now see each other outside of her restaurant. It's more accurate to say she's become a bit of an assertive partner. Today, I'm enjoying the delicious food she cooked and a tasty beer at Four Seasons. It's my perfect moment of bliss. Lately, there's another regular at this restaurant. The woman shoving stout beer across from me is my former colleague, Dorothy. I finally transferred to Williams Trading and thought I could get closer to you, Robert, but I was too late. So frustrating. Yes, she followed me to Williams Trading with her keen eye for buying from a female perspective. She's now an excellent buyer. But against Sarah, I don't stand a chance. I understand that very well now, but someday I'll become as wonderful a woman as Sarah and win over an even more amazing man than Robert. Oh, Dorothy, I think you're wonderful just as you are now. Thank you. Now, another round of that recommended beer. Take it easy, will you? As I tried to calm Dorothy down, Sarah handed me a small bowl of simmered dishes with a smile. As I ate, I complimented the food again. Sarah's cooking always hits the spot. It's like a nostalgic taste for me. Is that so? I'm glad you like it, but it's only natural that you do. What? Why is that? Can't you remember? Wait, that way of calling me. Could it be Sarah? Yes, I'm Sarah, Sarah Moore. I see. You've become so beautiful. I didn't recognize you at all. She was the Sarah who used to come to my mother's soup kitchen every night. So how's your brother Will doing now? Oh, come on, Robert. You see him all the time. Our chef is Will. What? That Will? The tough-looking guy with the crew cut? Yeah, that's him. Surprised, I said, that skinny kid turned into a muscle-bound gorilla. He doesn't look anything like he used to. But we owe everything to your mom. Our home-cooked taste comes from her cooking. We're really grateful. Wow, that explains why your cooking always tastes so nostalgic for us. Food is tied to happiness. When we're hungry, we're sad and can't do anything. But when we ate our fill at the soup kitchen, we were happy and slept well. Will said the same. Your mom brought us happiness. After she passed, and we were taken in by our grandparents, we had regular meals but always missed the food here. I worked hard, hoping one day I could make such comforting meals. And now you've nailed it. Your cooking is truly delicious. Great. My next goal is to save enough money to start my own small kitchen. That's a fantastic goal. I know you'll achieve it. Back then, our small kitchen relied solely on donations. But now even major franchise restaurants are involved in soup kitchens. Many children are happy to eat the bento boxes and snacks that would have been discarded. However, a warm meal, lovingly prepared, can warm a person's heart too. She wants to create that kind of warm, welcoming soup kitchen. Knowing how challenging that is, I want to help her achieve her dream. One day, I hope to find a way to import affordable ingredients from overseas, the warm meals that created these special bonds. These bonds were formed by my mom's grand acts of kindness and her smile. I want to cherish these important connections forever.